Foogiano just walked out of federal prison and wasted absolutely no time before he started pulling back the curtain on Gucci Mane. And this isn't just surface-level drama. Not only is there talk of Gucci setting up an ambush on Fu, but the story runs much deeper than that. We're talking about 1017 as a whole and everyone connected to it. Nobody is off the table here. So, let's start from the beginning. Foogiano just finished serving 5 years on a federal sentence. There was no grand welcome home moment, no rollout, no celebration from the label, just a selfie from Spiffo and a photo that made its rounds on No Jumper. That was it. And as soon as word spread that Fu was out, the streets started asking one question immediately. Where was Gucci Mane? The reason people are asking is because those close to the situation are already saying that Fu wants absolutely nothing to do with Gucci. The claim being made is that Gucci completely ignored Fu during those entire 5 years behind bars, never checked in, never sent a single dollar. And if that's accurate, it completely changes how you look at this entire situation. Now, before we get into what Fu's next move might look like, you have to understand the landscape he stepped back into. Because while Fu was locked up, something serious went down. There are reports that Fu was kidnapped and robbed just a few weeks ago at a studio in Dallas.
Week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas.
And almost immediately after that, the suspect was hit with federal kidnapping charges. And depending on how this plays out, he could be looking at life behind bars. What made things even more complicated was the FBI's statement that Gucci cooperated with law enforcement on the very same night the incident occurred. 10 days after that, Gucci dropped a track called Crash Dummy. Then, on April 21st, Foogiano came home, the last 1017 artist standing, free, alive, and not facing any indictment. But here's the angle that most people aren't focusing on. Think about how other major artists have come home from a bid. When Finesse 2 Times got out, there was a full rollout waiting for him. When Pooh Shiesty touched down, he walked straight into a room packed with his people. When Max B finally came home after all those years, they rolled out the red carpet. Meanwhile, Foogiano came home to a selfie and a photographer. No Gucci, no 1017, nothing. That silence says more than any statement ever could, and it lines up directly with what's already been circulating, that Gucci never once sent Fu $1 during those 5 years he was locked up. In the streets, that's not a minor detail. You can talk about loyalty all you want, but if your CEO can't put money on your books while you're doing federal time for a charge that happened right after he signed you, then what exactly is that relationship worth? To understand why this matters so much, you have to go back to October 2024. Gucci jumped on Instagram Live and made a business announcement. He said he reviewed his profit and loss statements and made the decision to drop nearly every artist on 1017, keeping only Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano on the roster.
What's up, y'all? Listen, I wanted to make this announcement on 1017 yesterday, but I just seen like my statement, my P&L with all my artists. You know, it's almost like a whole bunch of shakeup and it's a whole shit show in the industry right now. But when I look at my P&L and me being a businessman, I think that I'm gonna have to release almost all my artists except for Pooh Shiesty and Foogiano.
Gucci framed it as an unselfish business decision, saying those were the only 2 artists actually generating revenue for him. But here's the part that should make you pause. Both of those artists were sitting in federal prison when he said that. He was publicly profiting off artists he wasn't supporting. And now one of them is home, with 5 years of clarity and first-hand knowledge of exactly what that arrangement looked like from the inside. Now here's where things get even heavier, and this is the part that's been quietly circulating in the streets. Look at the pattern. Big Scar, gone at 23. Enchanting, gone at 26. Pooh Shiesty, back in federal custody, facing life. Foogiano, 5 years behind bars. Every artist Gucci built 1017 around is either dead, locked up, or has turned on him. And in every single one of those situations, the catalog remains, the streams continue climbing, and the label holds the masters. The artist is never there to collect. It's not unheard of in the music industry for labels to take out what are called key man insurance policies on artists, policies that pay out when an artist can no longer perform or generate income. Jadakiss brought this to light a few years back, and his words were striking. He said labels are out here taking out life insurance policies on these young artists, essentially gambling that something will go wrong so they can profit when it does. So the question the streets are now raising, and it's a legitimate one, is whether Gucci had financial structures in place that made artist tragedy work in his favor. Because when you apply the same P&L logic he used publicly, the math only adds up if jailed or deceased artists were still generating money that he was collecting on. And Foogiano spent 5 years behind bars with nothing but time to sit with exactly that reality. Now add another layer to this. Word coming from people close to Foo is that his time inside wasn't just hard, it was targeted. That the pressure he faced wasn't random or coincidental, and that fingers are being pointed directly at 1017. Nobody has gone on record with that. Foo himself hasn't made any public statements beyond one Instagram post. But that's precisely what makes it worth paying attention to. Because a man who burned an ankle monitor off his own body and asked crowds to shield him from police every night while he was on the run, that's not a man who lets things go. That's a man who remembers everything and waits. Kay, who was very vocal about the 1017 situation while Foo was still locked up, put it plainly: nobody was rocking with Gucci. And she pointed out something that tends to get buried underneath all the noise.
Here we are. Yeah, I'll be mad too if a won't let me out my contract. I'm in a situation right now where I want to hit a poo shiesty on a Y'all painting a picture out to make it seem like everybody just like it's a curse with Gucci. There ain't no curse with Gucci. Everybody chose their own fate when it came to 1017. And I'm speaking for everybody because I don't have nobody here to speak for themselves. And 2 of my goddamn label mates is gone. Chant gone. Scar gone. I don't even know where the Road Boy at. Y'all got so many opinions, but y'all don't even know that Foogiano and Pooh Shiesty and Scar was beefing with Gucci the entire time. It was the back and forth of who leaving the label and who want to stay and come back and give me your chain, or no, you can have your chain. Like, it was a lot of that shit going on. Why?
The entire time Foogiano was behind bars, tension between the artist and the label never stopped simmering. It wasn't just Pooh Shiesty who had problems with Gucci. Foo had issues. Scar had issues. Enchanting eventually walked because she didn't like how things were being operated. People who shouldn't have been making decisions were making them. There was no real structure, no genuine guidance, just contracts and control. What the outside world labeled a cursed label was really just a label full of people who wanted to be respected and weren't getting it. So now Foo is home, 32 years old, 5 years of his life gone, no money moving, no rollout from the label, not a single dollar sent to the commissary, and he is still technically signed to 1017. That last part is where the real leverage sits, because right now Gucci needs Foogiano far more than Foogiano needs Gucci. Gucci's reputation took a serious hit after FBI testimony confirmed he cooperated with law enforcement. That trap god mythology, 20+ years of carefully built credibility, took a blow that no diss track can repair. What he needs right now is an artist who is credible in the streets, who did his time without incident, who carries 0 snitching allegations, and who people were genuinely excited about before he went in. Foogiano is the only person left on that roster who checks every single one of those boxes. The smart move, according to people close to the situation, is to start by auditing the contract, because more often than not, labels are not honoring what they're contractually obligated to honor. If Gucci failed to meet his financial obligations to Foo during his incarceration, and there are people saying he never sent a single dollar, that alone could be grounds to walk away entirely. Get the lawyers involved, go through every clause, find exactly where 1017 failed to hold up their end, because that's the exit door if Foo wants it. And if a clean exit isn't available, then a negotiation is. You hold Gucci by the pen and leverage every ounce of goodwill he currently needs from you. A new deal, a better split, more creative control. Because Gucci is operating differently now. He went to the police, dropped a diss track. He's not playing by the same rules anymore.
which means the old street code reasons for staying loyal no longer carry the same weight they once did. Fu can separate from the brand publicly, speak on the situation, and still collect through the label structure if the contract allows it. What he cannot afford to do is come home emotionally, make decisions based on reputation rather than numbers, and end up broke while Gucci keeps collecting off his catalog. That is the trap inside the trap. Now, here are the 3 directions this situation can realistically go. Road 1, Fu stays on 1017, becomes the face of a rebuild, and uses his prison credibility to legitimize a label the streets currently view with serious skepticism. This only works if the deal gets renegotiated and Gucci publicly acknowledges what Fu brings to the table. No more commissary silence, no more invisible homecomings. Road 2, Fu gets his lawyers to find the exit, goes independent, and lets the music speak for itself without the 1017 weight attached. After watching everyone on that roster face tragedy, the brand itself may be too heavy a burden to carry forward. Road 3, and this is the one that should have Gucci Mane paying very close attention, Fu decides to talk, an interview, a record, a documentary. 5 years of watching 1017 collapse from inside a federal cell, with complete knowledge of the internal politics, the contract disputes, the absence of support, and whatever he personally experienced while he was in there. If Foogiano decides to open up, the story he tells will be the most complete and unfiltered account of what 1017 actually was beneath all the mythology. And there is nothing Gucci Mane can do to control that narrative once it's in motion. Because here's the reality. Gucci already showed his hand, a police statement and a diss track. Pooh Shiesty showed his, an AK and a contract release form. Big 30 showed his. Enchanting spoke on it before she passed. K spoke on it. Everyone connected to this situation has been forced to reveal where they stand. Foogiano's cards are still face down. He came home on April 21st, 12 days after Crash Dummy dropped, 11 days after the FBI confirmed Gucci cooperated the night of the robbery. He came home with a $100,000 grill he held onto through every year of his federal sentence, and 5 years of silence that was never emptiness. It was accumulation. The streets aren't viewing Fu's return as just another rapper coming home. They're looking at it as the final variable in an equation that has been solving itself for 4 years. Every other piece has already landed. The only thing left is what Fu does next. And based on everything we know about who this man is, he does not come home and quietly accept the situation he walked into. He comes home with a plan, and that plan has been 5 years in the making. Gucci Mane gave Fu his first real shot, and that history is genuine. But Fu also just served 5 years without a dollar from the label, watching the man who signed him cooperate with federal investigators and drop a diss track while 2 of their label mates are in the ground. The question is not whether Foogiano has something to say. The question is how he chooses to say it. And when that answer comes, whether it arrives through a record, an interview, or a lawsuit, it is going to reveal everything about what 1017 actually was beneath all the mythology. So what's it going to be? Does Fu audit the contract and find his way out? Does he hold Gucci by the pen and force a renegotiation? Or is he about to blow this entire thing wide open? Because one thing is certain, Foogiano did not spend 5 years in federal prison to come home and stay quiet.